Grandma Helen's Beagle had been retired for 6 years. Retired from what? The grandchildren always asked. From being busy, Helen would say, and leave it at that. The truth was that Chester had been a detection dog at a state agricultural checkpoint until his handler, Helen's son, moved to Florida, and Helen inherited the dog, the lease, and a bag of liver treats the size of a pillow. Chester was 11, gray muzzle, ears dragging the floor. He spent most of his time on the kitchen rug in Helen's bungalow in Tucson, his nose twitching at dreams nobody could see. But a detection dog never retires. The nose doesn't know it's off duty. Helen's granddaughter Iris was 2 years and 3 months old. She visited Tuesdays and Thursdays while her mother Amy worked half-days at a dental office. Chester and Iris had a routine. Iris sat on the floor with her snack cup. Chester lay beside her with his chin on her knee, and they existed in the comfortable silence of two creatures with nothing to prove. On a Thursday in April, Chester broke the routine. Iris was on the rug with her snack cup, animal crackers and raisins. Chester approached, sniffed the cup, and shoved it across the tile with his nose. Hard. It tipped and spilled. Helen refilled it. Chester shoved it again. This time he stood over it, body between Iris and the cup, nose working the air in rapid, shallow inhalations. Helen thought he wanted the food. She offered a liver treat. He ignored it. He went back to the snack cup and pushed it further from Iris. Chester, that's her lunch. Chester sat between Iris and the cup and would not move. Helen was irritated. She put the cup on the counter and gave Iris a banana. Chester watched the banana. Sniffed once. Lay down. If you stay for stories about the ones who never stopped working, subscribe to Grandma's Dog Stories. She mentioned it to Amy at pickup. Amy laughed. Chester probably wanted the raisins. They moved on. The following Tuesday, same snack cup, same crackers and raisins. Chester knocked it from Iris's hands before the first cracker reached her mouth. This time Helen paid attention. Chester wasn't interested in the crackers. He was fixated on the raisins. He pressed his nose against each one individually, the way Helen realized with slow, cold recognition he used to press his nose against luggage at the checkpoint. He was alerting. Helen called Amy. "Don't give Iris raisins." "Why?" "Chester is alerting on them." Amy paused. He was trained to find agricultural products. Raisins are dried grapes. He's doing his old job. Helen looked at Chester, ears forward, one paw raised, the freeze-point posture from his working days, eyes locked on the raisins. She called the pediatrician. The nurse was polite and unhelpful. Helen searched online. 3 results in, her hands started shaking. Grape and raisin toxicity, primarily documented in dogs, where even small amounts cause acute kidney failure. The responsible compounds, tartaric acid at variable concentrations between batches, are metabolized differently across species. Chester had been trained to detect agricultural contraband. Dried fruit was one of his primary targets. Has your older pet ever reverted to a behavior from their past, and it turned out to matter? Tell us. Some dogs never clock out. Helen had the raisins tested at a university agriculture lab. The batch contained tartaric acid levels 3 times above average, a natural variation, but one that would trigger severe kidney failure in any dog who consumed them. Had Chester eaten them, he'd have been dead in 48 hours. He hadn't been protecting Iris from the raisins. He'd been protecting himself. But the pediatrician, when Helen shared the lab results, noted that elevated tartaric acid concentrations in that range warranted switching brands as a precaution. Developing kidneys in toddlers process compounds differently than adult systems. Every old nose still working deserves a story. Subscribe to Grandma's Dog Stories. Amy brought a new brand the following Thursday. Chester sniffed the cup once, walked to the rug, and lay down beside Iris with his chin on her knee. His tail didn't wag, his body didn't tense. He just settled into the silence of two creatures who had nothing left to prove. Helen watched from the counter and smiled. The checkpoint was closed, but the nose was still open for business. The University Agricultural Lab report arrived by email 3 days after Helen submitted the raisin samples. She printed it on her kitchen printer, the one that always smeared the left margin, and read it twice with her reading glasses and once without, as if the numbers might change depending on her prescription. Tartaric acid, 47.3 milligrams per liter. The average for commercial raisins ranges from 12 to 18. Chester had detected a batch that was nearly 4 times the standard concentration, a natural variation caused by grape variety, growing conditions, and drying methodology, but one that placed these particular raisins in a toxicity category that the ASPCA classifies as high risk for canine renal failure. The veterinary toxicologist Helen consulted explained that Chester's training had conditioned his olfactory system to flag tartaric acid as a primary alerting compound. Agricultural checkpoints screen for dried fruit because of pest transmission risk, but the biochemical marker Chester was trained to detect happened to be the same compound responsible for grape and raisin toxicity in dogs. He hadn't been protecting Iris. He hadn't been guarding the food. He had been performing the job his nose was built for, identifying a compound at concentrations that would have killed him within 48 hours of ingestion. But the pediatrician's response was the detail Helen couldn't stop thinking about. When she shared the lab results, expecting to be dismissed again, the doctor paused. Tartaric acid at those concentrations hasn't been studied in toddlers specifically, the doctor said. But the metabolic pathway in developing kidneys is slower. I wouldn't call it dangerous. I would call it worth switching brands. Helen switched brands. She also bought a second bag of the flagged raisins and kept them sealed in the Ziploc bag in her freezer, not as evidence, as a reminder that the most sophisticated detection system in her house wasn't the smoke alarm or the carbon monoxide sensor or the water filtration system. It was an 11-year-old Beagle with gray ears who had been officially retired for 6 years and unofficially operational every single day since. Amy started bringing a different snack mix the following Tuesday, no raisins. Chester approved the new selection with a single sniff and a slow blink, the Beagle equivalent of a custom stamp. Cleared for consumption.